Hi, and welcome back to the Alex and Dom show. I'm Alex,
And I'm Trey.
and Dom is going to be sitting this one out because we're going to be talking about something special to me and Trey. Uh, what are your thoughts on this? Unsinkable luxury ship, 800 feet long, sailing through the North Atlantic Ocean at 25 knots, and hits an iceberg and sinks. What ship am I talking about?
Um, the Titanic, I believe. I can't remember the name of the book.
Nope. Actually, that right there is the wreck of the Titan
Ah,
from the book
from
The
the
Wreck of the
book.
Titan,
Man.
which predates the Titanic by 14 years.
I
14 years before the Titanic.
should have
But
knew
there's a
should
lot
have
of
known.
similarities to the point to where a lot of people think that he may have predicted this horrible oceanic tragedy. I
This
want to take you back to the early 20th century, to a moment when the world was captivated by the promise and the tragedy of the ship called RMS Titanic.
Okay.
The,
What year?
did the Titanic sink?
Yeah.
1914
1914?
or 1912. I apologize. 1912.
That's still, and they've been making boats like the Titanic, like not wooden anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For how long do you think? A little bit.
Since the late 1800s.
So could they even make a boat that big? A boat big.
Yeah,
Could they make a wooden boat as big as the Titanic?
I'm sure they could. It would take a lot of wood. It would be. I mean, it would still float. Obviously, wood floats. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's been boats as close enough to it at a wooden.
Yeah, but nowadays, like the cruise ships dwarf the
Yeah,
Titanic.
the Titanic was like a rowboat compared to a
Yeah,
cruise
and
ship. Yeah.
so like two like the sailing ships from before the Titanic, those looked small in comparison to the Titanic. The
Hmm.
Titanic to me was huge until I saw the comparison to today's cruise ships. I had no idea
Yeah.
how small it really was.
It
It was big
literally
at the
looks like
time.
you could pick the Titanic up and that would be like a lifeboat for the
Yeah,
cruise
it
ships.
was. Oh my gosh, it was so wild. I saw it was the Titanic first.
Hmm.
It like sailed through first,
Hmm.
and then right behind it was one of the cruise ships from today, and it was massive.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how small the Titanic is to our standards today.
Yeah. And back then it was the biggest
It
ship
was the
ever made.
biggest ship.
Yep. The Titanic was the pride of the White Star Line, a British shipping company. She was the largest and most luxurious ship of her time, boasting a length of 882 feet and weighing 46,328 tons. The ship was the epitome of elegance and the engineering designed to be unsinkable.
That's just a curse right there. Why would you ever say a ship is unsinkable?
Yeah, you like jinxed
You
yourself on that
jinxed
one.
it.
Her maiden voyage began on April 10th, 1912. The ship departed from Southampton, England, with stops in Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, Ireland, before heading across the Atlantic to New York City.
Wait, it sunk on its maiden voyage?
Yes.
I did not know it was a maiden voyage.
Yep. On board were 2,224 passengers
That is way
and
too
crew,
many.
a mix of some of the wealthiest people in the world, immigrants seeking a new life in America, and hard-working crew who kept the ship running. The Titanic's accommodations were divided into three classes, each reflecting the passenger's social status.
Yeah, a classist system.
Yes. First class was the world of opulence, with grand staircases, swimming pools, libraries, and gourmet dining rooms. The cabins were spacious and richly decorated, providing every luxury imaginable.
Wait, that's first class,
It's
right?
first class.
That's
Yep.
the rich people.
Yep.
So people from the second and third class can't go up to the first class?
No.
Not once. What are the people in the second and third class supposed to do? Just hang out in the bottom of the ship?
They have their own ships, parts of ship. Second class was comfortable and respectable, offering amenities that rivaled first class accommodations on many other ships of the era. So the second class was pretty much like first class on every other ship.
Hmm.
So first class on this ship was like double first class.
Star Elite First Class.
Yep. Third class on steerage was a stark contrast. These passengers had basic and shared accommodations, but still benefited from the Titanic's size and stability. For many, it was a significant step up from the conditions they left behind in Europe.
Nah, that sucks. Thinking about it that way, you know, they come from nothing, get enough money together to get third class on a ship as big as Titanic. Oh, it
And
just
as they
sucks.
boarded the ship, they checked them for lice.
Logically, I would also
Mm-hmm.
want
Lice
that
was like a
done.
really bad thing back then. I guess a lot of people had it, and it was like it carried disease. Lice carries disease. So, and it doesn't. You don't have to be a dirty person to get lice either.
In some schools nowadays, you don't get sent home for lice
Yeah,
anymore.
it's because they can kill it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
As the Titanic sailed through the icy waters of the North Atlantic, the mood on board was one of celebration and excitement. Passengers marveled at the ship's grandeur and enjoyed the various entertainments provided. However, beneath this veneer of luxury and security, a tragedy was quietly unfolding.
Well, I mean, probably a little bit further down the line, but yeah.
On the night of April 14th, 1912, 4 days into the voyage,
Only 4 days?
yeah, the Titanic was sailing at nearly full speed through an area known to be rife with icebergs.
Well, they thought they were unsinkable,
Yeah.
so.
Despite receiving multiple iceberg warnings from other ships, the Titanic maintained its course, and at 11:40 p.m., lookouts spotted an iceberg directly in the ship's path. Despite the crew's frantic efforts to avoid a collision, the Titanic struck the iceberg on its starboard side. The impact caused a series of ruptures along the hull, flooding the ship's watertight compartments. The design of these compartments, once thought to make the ship unsinkable, ultimately contributed to her downfall. The ship could remain afloat with up to 4 flooded compartments, but the iceberg had damaged 6. So it was unsinkable up to 4 of these compartments, but it just took on too much water.
Uh,
I mean, it's metal, it's heavy. You add that to ocean water, it's gonna sink.
yeah, but it still sucks.
It does suck.
And the fact that they had warnings from other ships and still chose to continue that way.
A lot of people think that because the guy who got replaced had the key to the room with binoculars.
Hmm.
A lot of people think that was a contribution to like not seeing the iceberg in time, but on a clear night like that, it's easier to see an iceberg without binoculars with the naked eye.
Obviously not.
They saw it; they were going too fast. There was no time to stop,
Well, if they would have heeded the warnings,
and they turned. They turned when they really should have just hit it dead on. They hit it dead on, it wouldn't have sank. It was the fact that they turned.
was the captain not like
The captain, the captain and the crew did everything they could.
except for see the iceberg in time
Yeah, well, they
and heed the warnings?
yeah, and heed the warnings. They did during the tragedy. They did everything they did. The captain was a very honorable man, and literally was the last one off the Titanic.
He lived.
Yes, he did live.
You know, partially his fault. Maybe he should have went down with the ship. He would have heeded the warnings and had the binoculars and looked out better, I guess. Not been going at full speed. I don't know. There's so many things
They're
they
trying
could
to
have
break the
done.
record, but
There's no reason to break records.
hubris is humans' downfall. As the reality of the situation set in, the crew began to launch lifeboats. However, the Titanic was woefully unprepared for such a disaster
Thinking
and
it was
tragedy.
unsinkable.
Yep. She carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for about half of the people on board. Moreover, many lifeboats were launched half empty due to a
Why?
lack of coordination and the crew's disbelief that the ship was actually sinking.
Oh my god.
So also, like, again, the ship was tilting and they can launch both on both sides, but like it was easier to launch them half empty and then have people get on when they're in the water.
They weren't thinking how cold the water was going to be.
I, like I said, they probably did the best they could.
Obviously not.
I
I
mean,
mean,
when you get
launching.
on a ship thinking it's completely unsinkable, you don't think of, oh, we're gonna have to use these lifeboats.
They should have.
Panic and chaos ensued as the passengers scrambled to secure a place in these lifeboats. The crew tried to maintain order, prioritizing women and children first,
Yeah.
but the sheer scale of the disaster made it impossible to save everyone.
Well, women and children. I mean, I get the point of it, but everyone was in that disaster. So
Do you know where the saying "women and children first" comes from?
no.
Obviously, you want to save children first
Why?
and foremost,
I mean,
because
I
they're our future.
I understand
They
from
have
a
their whole
parent's
life ahead of them.
perspective.
Yes, they have the whole life ahead of them. And the reason they don't send men with the children is because back then it was sexist, and women were childbearing. They were more maternal. They could raise children better, keep children calmer better. Men were, supposed to be honorable and stay behind and go down to the ship and everything. And
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
they're just as scared as the women and the children are.
yeah, but they can't be. They have to be strong and
Yeah, well, I imagine
everything.
plenty of men took advantage of the situation to begin with.
I mean, maybe, maybe not. As the bow of the Titanic dipped beneath the waves, the stern rose into the air. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, just over 2.5 hours after the collision, the Titanic broke apart and sank into the icy depths, taking 1,500 souls with her.
That's like what, half?
It's over half.
Oh my gosh.
The aftermath of the disaster was a profound shock to the world.
Except for that one guy who wrote that book.
Yep. The RMS Carpathia arrived at the scene and rescued 705 survivors from the lifeboats,
And
bringing them to
some in
New
the
York.
water too, right? The ones that lived in the water?
I, it was a very, very small number that survived in the water. There was a guy who jumped in, he was drunk, that survived. And I think because he
Mm,
was drunk, his body was more relaxed and his veins were constricted,
yeah.
so that he didn't die of hypothermia. The sinking of the Titanic led to major changes in maritime regulations, including the establishment of international ice patrol and requirements for sufficient lifeboats for all passengers and crew.
The lifeboats make sense. But the
I think
iceberg
it's
dude,
because they're wooden and they're big. I think now with the invention of inflatable rafts, you can get a lot more lifeboats on a ship.
yeah, but they ignored the warnings for the icebergs in the first place, so it wouldn't have mattered if they had iceberg prevention or whatever.
Yeah, but they probably also had like speed regulations and everything like that. You can't
Yeah,
go a
yeah.
certain amount
If it's a
speed.
known iceberg area,
Yeah,
you need to be
lower
going a
your
certain
speed.
speed.
Yeah. Uh, but that's not where the tragedy stops for this stretch of ocean. And on
Where exactly is this stretch of ocean?
it's between it's like around Greenland.
Is it the North Sea?
Yeah, well, no, it's North Atlantic Sea. It's
Oh,
between England and New
because
York City,
the
so it's like
North
a
Sea
line
is one
down.
of the most dangerous
Yeah,
areas.
no, it's not North Sea. What you're thinking of North Sea is above England and Ireland, up near
Okay.
Norway and stuff. That's the North Sea.
Yes, by Norway. Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, I'm talking about the Titan submersible, which was a deep sea exploration vehicle operated by OceanGate, a private company known for conducting deep sea explorations, including those to the wreck of the Titanic. It was designed to take tourists, scientists, and researchers to extreme depths in the ocean, specifically to visit the Titanic wreck, which lies 12,500 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic Sea.
Yep. And used a game controller as their
Yeah.
steering mechanism.
The materials used to build this submersible was primarily made of carbon fiber and titanium, which are strong and lightweight materials. The hull was designed to withstand the immense pressure at extreme depths. But what
Theorized.
he didn't know
Hmm.
is that carbon fiber is strong when it expands, not when it's constricted. The submersible could carry 5 people, including a pilot and 4 passengers. The Titan was designed to operate for several hours underwater, with life support systems that could last up to 96 hours in case of an emergency. It featured a series of high-definition cameras, sonar, and a touch-screen interface for navigation. The submersible was controlled using a modified video game controller, which garnered some attention and criticism.
The whole thing, I mean, when they were announcing that they were going to do it, it had criticism.
Yeah. It was launched and recovered using a support vessel on the surface. In June 2023, the Titan submersible gained widespread attention after it tragically imploded during a dive to the Titanic wreck, resulting in the deaths of all 5 people aboard. This incident raised significant concerns about the safety and regulation of deep-sea tourism, especially regarding the use of experimental submersibles.
With controllers.
Yes.
Game controllers.
The disaster sparked discussions about the design and construction of the submersible, as well as the oversight and regulation of such deep-sea expeditions. Critics pointed out that the Titan had not been certified by a recognized regulatory body, and there was concerns about the safety protocols followed by OceanGate. In the aftermath, the incident led to increased scrutiny of the deep-sea exploration industry and calls for stricter regulations and safety standards to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Today, the Titanic rests at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, a poignant reminder of human fallibility and the tragic cost of hubris. The ship's story continues to fascinate and haunt us, a symbol of a bygone era and a sobering lesson in the limits of human engineering.
Isn't there a lady
Mm-hmm.
that survived the Titanic?
There was probably lots of ladies survived.
Yes, but she also survived another shipwreck.
Yes. She was on all 3 of the sister
That's
ships
what I
when they
was saying.
sunk. So she was a
All
true
3.
albatross. She was on the Britannica,
I knew she
the
was on the
Olympia,
Britannica.
and the Titanic. Those are the 3 sister ships. The Britannica took a torpedo into its side.
Why?
It was during World War I or World War II. I can't remember which one. Titanic hit an iceberg, and I can't remember what happened to the Olympia, but she was on it as well.
Maybe she's bad luck.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Or she just has really bad luck. And I mean, well, back then, you got to think about it. It's not like nowadays. And even then, there's still tragedies on the ocean, obviously, with the Titan submersible.
Well, that's different.
But I
That
just
was a
think it was
submersible.
funny. Not funny. I think it was odd that it was named Titan, like in the book, The Wreck of the Titan, and then Titanic. And all 3 of them had a tragedy in this location. Obviously, the Wreck of the Titan, the book, was fictional.
I mean, to a point.
It was, yeah, I know now. Yeah, but 14 years later, it really happened, and because of the Titanic sinking at this exact spot, being named Titanic, it really garnered more attention to this book. It was a novella, and it was about a former sailor who got on the ship, the unsinkable ship. It got hit an iceberg going 25 knots. It sank. He saved a girl named Mira, and they're on an iceberg. And the whole book is about how he survives the crash or wreck and lives on this iceberg until they're rescued.
Lives on the iceberg.
Which I think James Cameron probably took both of those. Probably took the original Titanic, obviously the Titanic sinking was called Titanic, and then the Wreck of the Titan story with John and Mira, Jack and Rose.
You really think that James Cameron knew about the book?
Yes, of course he did. He is a Titanic historian.
That doesn't mean
Yeah.
Like nowadays, you'd be like, "Oh, the Wreck of the Titan," and people are going to automatically think of the billionaires that decided to get their lives squished. You don't think about the book. I mean, I didn't find out about the book.
Well, the Titanic was made in 1990s, so it was before anything happened like that.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't know about the book until, well, a little bit before the Titan sub.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a couple years before that. I can't remember why I even found it.
Probably TikTok. It's where most people find stuff nowadays.
No, it was before TikTok. Probably YouTube.
Probably.
Did that dude write any other books that were like Prophetic.
I don't think so. I think this was the one that really shocked people. And I mean, people have dreams that come true all the time, like
And
and
visions
visions
and
and stuff. He might have just had this vision, wrote a book about it, and I mean, who knows? The creator of the Titanic possibly read this book and decided to create the
something similar.
Titanic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, that'd be weird. That'd be
it
even
is.
weirder in a depressing kind of way because
Yeah.
he would know how it went.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, let's make this ship almost exactly like the ship in a book that I read once.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "There's no way. We'll say unsinkable just in case."
Yeah. Obviously, incorrect at both accounts. But the
Uh,
story of the Titanic is obviously the fact that they made a ship at this time period that big and that luxurious was a testament to that era.
okay, but were the Britannica and the Olympia like the same size?
They know. Okay, so the Olympia was the same size as the Titanic in length, but the Titanic displaced more water, so that made it bigger. So that
Okay, so the the Britannica. That's right, right?
yeah, the Britannica. Yeah.
Isn't there a book series? You know what I'm talking about? It's like
The Encyclopedia
encyclopedia.
Britannica. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Britannica is what Great Britain used to be called.
Is it really?
Yes,
I didn't know that. I really didn't know that.
with the Celtics.
But I,
Celtics used to call it
you know,
Romans. I think actually no, I think the Romans called it Britannica. That's what they called the islands of Great Britain.
huh? I didn't know that. That makes more sense, I guess.
Mhm.
But that ship, the Britannica, wasn't it like a hospital ship?
They used it during the war. They converted it to a hospital ship in the
Yeah,
war.
and I
It
think
took a
that's
torpedo
yeah,
to
I
the
think that's when
side
it sunk. Yeah,
and it sunk.
man, it wasn't in the same area, right?
It was off the coast of Britain, yeah, but it wasn't. It wasn't anywhere near the
Oh,
Titanic. No, a lot of people don't realize how big the North Atlantic is. It's huge. It took them like months to get across in a wooden ship, and it would have took them, I think, a little over 5 to 6 days on a steamship. Like
all right.
it was
Well,
going fast.
honestly, 5 to 6 days is not that bad,
No,
really. But
but with cruise ships, you can get across the ocean in 3 days.
yeah, I don't realize how big most oceans are.
Yeah.
I mean, just I just realized where Korea is.
Hmm.
I mean, I knew where it was, but I had to look on the map to really look where it was,
I
if
think
that makes
I
sense.
think a lot of people nowadays, if they don't have Google in front of them, they don't know where a lot of places are.
No, I couldn't tell you exactly where things are.
Yeah, which
You know,
which is okay, but it kind of really
it
doesn't give
shows.
me a lot of hope for our
Yeah.
children
Ex-
because
oh my gosh.
geographically they should know where all of our states are if you live in the United States, and also if you live in a
At
different
least the
country, you should
continents.
know where everything is.
You should know at least where the continents
Yeah.
are. Sidetracking for a second. Antarctica,
Hmm.
right? It's you can't fly there, and you can't like sail to it. There's like you can't fly over it, you can't fly near it, you can't sail near it.
Can't Google Earth it.
Really? I never tried Google Earthing it before.
Hmm.
But there's bases there.
They're not military bases, and a lot of people think they are, but
Well,
they're not. They're scientific research bases. Antarctica, the Treaty of Antarctica, there's a treaty
like
with,
worldwide,
yeah, worldwide,
everyone
international treaty that says that no one can have a military base there, and it is a shared
space.
continent
Yeah.
for research only.
Huh.
But the Nazis were trying to build a base there, and Americans went down there after World War II basically to check it out. And a lot of people think it was a secret mission that the Nazis were never there, that Americans went there and put military bases.
I don't know what good a military base in Antarctica would do.
Considering the fact that
It's so far away from
it's
everything.
it's not as big as we think it is. Most of that's ice. So like if you put a base on the wrong spot
Yeah, and say
and
you're
then it
just gonna go bloop.
melts and it goes into the ocean. So because it is melting.
Yeah, but
We're starting to see rocks and stuff
there's
now, mountains.
people there. Like people live there.
Researchers, yes. There's not. I don't think there's indigenous people that live there,
No, I didn't think
but
that. But like the researchers that live there, I
penguins are
mean,
there.
are there really penguins there?
Yeah, that's the only
How does
place.
daytime nighttime work on Antarctica? Is it the same as like Alaska? 30 days
Yeah,
on, 30 days off kind of thing.
probably, yeah, something like that.
I don't even think that's right.
No, there's 30 days in a year where it's completely light at all times, and then there's
Yeah,
30 days in a year where it's completely dark. But the rest of it's like short day and night.
I couldn't imagine living anywhere near either of those areas, Antarctica or
I couldn't deal with the cold. But
yeah. Sorry, so completely sidetracking because we were talking about like geographical,
yeah,
and I just thought it was weird that no one's allowed to be there.
it's
But
just dangerous to go there. That's
yeah,
one of the reasons why it's off limits for people. Because say that you're a amateur sailor or you're just taking
or
your yacht down
pilot.
there, yeah, and I mean, for one, if you're a pilot, it screws with your navigation because of the polar, the magnetic field, and also when you're a ship, there's obviously icebergs there because it's like that, and you know,
Yeah,
if you don't know how to navigate it or you don't have your hull isn't strong enough because the military ships and
yeah,
research ships
they're
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 made to go
made to
this
do
way.
it.
But thank you guys for joining us through the journey through the history of the Titanic.
And the sidetracking through
Yeah,
Antarctica.
yeah.
Can
May we always remember the lessons learned from this tragedy and honor the memories of those who perished that fateful night.
you imagine listing all those names?
I would not dare because 1,500 names is a lot,
That's a lot of names. Obviously,
including the 5 who were lost during the Titan's submersible implosion.
yes.
So that's 1,505 that were claimed at that exact spot of the ocean.
That's just sad.
It is sad. That's a lot of death
It is a lot of death.
for
Well, and that's
that
not
one
even
spot.
counting. Yeah, like
I'm sure there's other ships that would sink there too.
oh,
But thank you guys for listening. If you haven't checked out our new podcast, Real or Ruse, go ahead and flip on over there and check it out. We really appreciate it. Me and Trey love being fooled or trying to guess the right answer. And the next episode, I'm going to try to fool Tracy.
not gonna be that hard, apparently.
Yeah. But we appreciate you guys listening, and we will catch you in the next episode of the Alex and Dom Show.